As a short introduction, I've been in social media marketing for goodness, going on 17, 18 years right now. I was born in East Tennessee, Dolly Parton's hometown, and I was raised without television, only to be one of the very first social media agencies to ever exist as a dedicated social media marketing agency. And that was in February of 2010. I remember the first day I ever heard the word Facebook. At the time, I was head of the Student Activity Council's promotion. If you all know me, it makes a whole lot of sense to what I do now as being a cheerleader for Ohio and Cincinnati. But I was going to a student government meeting at our new Gallagher Center. If you're familiar with Xavier's campus, this kid comes running up to me. It was like, we have to get Facebook. After Facebook was introduced, it immediately took our college by storm. I established my company in New York City in 2010. So then I boomeranged back to Cincinnati in 2020. Fast forward to October of 2022, a friend of mine, a Burning Man camp friend, because we were talking about Burning Man being a network amplifier, was visiting Halloween weekend in Cincinnati. It was a very memorable weekend because my friend works at OpenAI and gave me a demo of this thing called ChatGPT, the dog fooding version of it. It captured my imagination. And then, as you all know, the following month in November of 2022, it was released not as a major product launch or announcement. It was a happy accident. The fact that it blew up and captured, as everyone knows, 100 million users, breaking a user acquisition records within 2 months and captured the world by wildfire. This was not planned, it was not intentional. And as we all know, we have been beta testers for the most powerful technology that we have ever created on a mass scale. And it felt like the early days of social media marketing all over again, where this big disruptive technology is going to impact everything for better or for worse. I was very, very early on the social media marketing wave. And I wore my pens. I've never shown my pens before. This is all my buttons and pens, because you know, when the world is like, what's real, what's not, I have my physical evidence. I say I'm a Facebook super fan. And all of my little buttons and pen collections have come from a Facebook developer and Facebook events over the years. I'm a massive Facebook nerd. And the mission of Facebook about connecting the world is something that deeply resonates with me and I agree with. However, under the circumstances and the conditions in which we are existing is fundamentally flawed. One of the most beautiful things about the information age, I'm 42 years old, so I'm a child of the information age, the same age as Mark Zuckerberg, that we have the infrastructure for connection. It is unprecedented that as many humans on the planet today are digitally connected, and we have the infrastructure for connection. However, because we're in this bad version of this overly capitalistic monopoly game, we have the infrastructure for connection. And yet, specifically in the United States, but globally, we have a loneliness epidemic because despite infrastructure for connection, these platforms profit off of our loneliness. And the metrics that they use, and I'm telling you guys everything you already know of engagement and loneliness is profitable because that means you're doing more screen time, that you're scrolling. And if your only metric is engagement, this is why we get the rage. So I stay optimistic because whether we have an AI bubble that bursts or whatever, what everyone always says is the infrastructure will still be there. And we have the infrastructure for connection. And how I'm looking at the intelligence age in this like last 3 years or so, I'm thinking about it as how the guys talk about it, that we're beta testers and that it was an accident. So we have been part of the largest social global failed experiment where we are beta testers in an unconsenting way, and we should treat it that way. And I think we should pause for a lot of reasons. One, I'm responding to Mark Zuckerberg's op-ed this week as part of this presentation. But in the news, you want the state of the world right now was OpenAI, their agent that have like hacked Hugging Face. The AI that we have right now We are not prepared for it from a cybersecurity standpoint. That alone, we should pause. Data centers, which is a huge topic in the Midwest, specifically Ohio, pause. We don't know of the 200 in the state of Ohio. We don't have studies on the impact of the current 200 that exist versus the 200 that are being proposed. And luckily, we have some pauses and stuff. One of my sticks is I dress up as a consenticorn, and a consenticorn is just someone who cares about consent and makes it memeifiable by using a unicorn. But I want to say something because Mark Zuckerberg and I are the same age. All of these guys from Silicon Valley, they dress up too. Here we have Mark Z playing Mr. Hip Hop Empire. You know, he likes the Roman Empire stuff. This is a fantastic interview of Sam Altman from Burning Man. There's a great underground series where he talks with Android Jones about AI and creativity. But why I got this, you can't see it really well, but he's in spandex at Burning Man. That's why that photo's in here. This is Adam Becker. He's the CEO of Instagram and has been with Facebook a really long time. And this was when they were releasing the AI slop within Instagram of like, look, you can be a cowboy and dressing up as a cowboy. So I'm like, well, if these guys going to be like Mr. Hip Hop Roman Empire, I'm going to be a consenticorn. And I brought my props with me. So this is this is why I dress up as a consenticorn, because the coast, it's the wild, wild west out there. And that's how they've been applying all of this. And they have this whole thing of move fast and break things. They move fast and break things. And even one of the presenters this past weekend is like, we are tired of being beta testers for half-baked products. They have moved fast and broken things, and they have broken society. State of the AI. Yes. We all talk about all the good things, but we need to be honest about where we are. And one thing about the information age and the digital age is that we've abstracted ourselves and spent so much of our time online. We need to be grounded in reality and what exists right now to meet this moment. We don't need another futurist telling us about predictions. We need to understand what's happening here right now. We have lost at least 3 or 4 teenagers to suicide because of these AI products. And all of these suicides could have been prevented if these rollouts were done properly. And one thing that I love about the Midwest is that I can be a consenticorn. And while all the Silicon Valley is move fast, break things, fail, fail, fail. Okay, you failed. We failed at this experiment of the first iteration of our introduction to conversational AI. Here in the Midwest, we're not the wild, wild West. We are a place of refuge. We have been unconsented beta testers. And one of the things that we need to do is have boundaries, which everyone's learning about on Google. I'm 42 years old and asking Google, what's a boundary? You know, in Silicon Valley, we're looking at Silicon Valley of like, what's next? I'm here to say we cannot look only to Silicon Valley of shaping the future. Right here in this room in the Midwest where we took flight, we can shape the future right here and tell Silicon Valley we're not the wild, wild West. Here, we care about safety. Because one thing about the Midwest, people move here for their families, to raise their families. You are a community-oriented region, and communities who care about their families and their children, especially parents and caretakers, you do not want the future that AI, that Mark Zuckerberg and Sam Altman are putting forth, do you? No. Okay, so let's talk about how we're going to fix it. Okay, so I roast Sam Altman. I'll take this off. But okay, so here's the thing. Like a fantastic book is Adam Becker's More Everything Forever, and how these guys talk about the future is problematic to begin with because they're using, we have to go to Mars, we have to get AGI as red herrings to gloss over the fact that they're fucking up everything right now on the rollout. This is Sam Altman's of how we're going to solve climate change. Let's destroy the whole planet with data centers and then ask superintelligence, how are we going to fix everything? We know how to fix. We don't need superintelligence. And the fact that superintelligence is like one of the things that we're going towards is also a misdirection. on the intelligence age. So Mark Zuckerberg this past Tuesday, I kind of like my wand as a prop, wrote an op-ed, and it reads very, very similar to Sam Altman's on the intelligence age. And these tech bros that are just like, trust us. Why should we trust you? Mark Zuckerberg in his article was like, I believe in distributed power and that individual empowerment is the future of AI. And it is so fundamentally flawed for many reasons. One, I will tell you, is that access alone does not create agency. And if you look at social media, you will see why. Because without the proper conditions, context, and education, it does, and this is what they say, oh, we have to have ads so the product is free so that everyone can access it. And by accessing it and everyone having an individual AI will unlock abundance. That's what they say. But look at social media as the blueprint. What happened? The exact opposite. Not agency, dependency and addiction. And the apps are designed for addiction. And what is happening with conversational machine intelligence? People are getting dependent on these platforms and doing the copy and paste and not thinking. So access alone to ChatGPT and these LLMs do not inherently mean agency. Agency, where you have choice about how you're going to decide how to use this tech or move forward in the future, you have to be able to think for yourself and not be dependent. And one thing I also want to say about this, because we're all addicted, whether it's to our cell phones, to sugar, whatever, pick something in the information age, the answer to addiction is not sobriety. It is not a digital detox. The answer, whether it is substances or digital screens, is community. And we have to come together, thank you, for community. The answer to loneliness is not more willpower. It is coming together in community. But I want to say something. Mark Zuckerberg in his article gave a shout out to Ohio. They came from brothers in a bicycle shop who believed they could fly. And he's optimistic. But how can we look to Mark Zuckerberg and everything that he has done that has led up to this point, where every major decision, he has always picked profits over people and profiting off of our loneliness? How is he the leader that is going to unlock abundance for us? I'm missing that memo. Let me know. So we cannot look to these leaders. They are acting like cowboys and kings and emperors in this wild, wild West. And here in the Midwest, where we care about community, where we care about family, where we care about safety and consent, I invite you to join me as a consenticorn and saying to Silicon Valley, we are done moving fast and breaking things. We don't want to be beta testers. We want to move forward with intentionality because we care about human agency, our children's imaginations, which we have to protect and make sure it doesn't come commodified like we've seen in the intelligence and the information age, and that we have to come together and believe that we can come together and help shape the future. And it starts with conversations like this and conversations that lead to action. So I invite all of you to imagine a different future that is not one of extraction, but of community and nurturing.